In this video, we're going to do some more video compositing and VFX kind of stuff. And so what I've done is I filmed myself sitting at this table. And the idea is that there's a fly, it lands on there, and then I have a kind of chameleon tongue that shoots out, and I eat it, and then I turn into a kind of lizard type creature or something along those lines. So I've got this footage. Let's get it along to the bit where I want it to start. So about here. So let's just move that back. Okay. I'm going to scale the video down. I'm working in 720x1280. This is a 920 video, so it just gives me a bit of options for framing. So I'm just going to move it around like that. Okay, so I know it's the fly. And then what I'm going to do is on this section here, I'm going to have it coming in and landing on the leaf. I'm going to lock this layer so that anything I do, I don't start moving all around. Then I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to create a shape layer and just going to open that up. I'm going to add an ellipse, and I'm going to add a fill. It's going to be, this fly is going to be massive for the moment whilst I work out the animation. Let's change the color. So I want it a kind of dark brown, something like that. Okay, let's take it back. So I'm going to go to the transform command. I'm going to click on the stopwatch on position, and then I'm going to move it to somewhere, where about eye line, somewhere up here. And I'm going to use my preview to go through it frame by frame. So let's see, so it kind of looks as though it's kind of gone over here. And then by then it's kind of gone to around about here. Let's say. And then it's going to land on there. Or something like that. So let's see how that goes. Obviously, it's kind of playing back a bit weird because I've not got the work area, so it's rendering those frames really quickly. So I'm just going to take that back to something around about here. So I'm adjusting the work area, and I'm going to preview again. Yeah. Obviously you're going to change the size of that, so let's go 7 on the first bit and 2. Let's have a look how small that is. Let's just preview that. Maybe a bit too small. Let's just try again. Zoom in a bit. Might have to go in and adjust it slightly. So let's I'm going to rotate it a bit. I'm going to have to really zoom in. There we go. And then move that final position. Move these positions like so. Okay, and zoom in even more. So when you're in this level, you click on the hand icon, and you can drag in, so I can readjust that. Let's have a look at that. Let's zoom out again. Yeah, well, this seems to do it. What we're going to do next is add a kind of wiggle to it, and this will just give it a bit more of a kind of natural movement. But before I do that, I just need to make sure that I've got my keyframes right. So that's all good, and then I'm just going to put another one after this, and up until the point where I kind of eat it. So we like, yeah, and then by then it'll kind of disappear. So I've got these keyframes here, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to select this bunch of them. Let's click and drag. Then I'm going to go to the wiggler, which is in this toolbar in here. And so basically randomly it will alter the animation as I got it by a magnitude of 1, a frequency of 5 times per second. Well, I want it to be more kind of jittery than that, so I'm going to increase it to 10 times a second and then increase the magnitude to 4 and apply. And then let's have a look at that and see what kind of effect that's had. Yeah, it gives it a bit more of a kind of wobbly, fly-like kind of vibe. And what I'm also going to do to it is I'm going to put some motion blur on it. So on my shape layer, if you look at this set of icons at the top, if you go to the one that's like a circle with some other circles behind it in a kind of fade, then this is motion blur. So if I click on that and play it back, you'll notice now, can't really see much going on. Oh, there we go. Yeah, you can see if we zoom in a bit better, it kind of blurs it. It looks much more like a fly now. I'm just going to add a few more frames of animation. I'm just going to put in here and there. And I'm going to use the wiggle command again. I'm going to change the magnitude down this time to 2 because I don't want it to move around too much. It does seem rather small. I might make it a bit bigger. Let's go to 9 and 4. Let's see how that looks like. Oh, that's more fly-like. I mean, if you're really finicky, you would go in and do some wings or something like that. Obviously, a big part of this is going to be the sound design. So once you get the kind of buzzing sound in there, it'll really come together. What I want to work on now is the tongue. So there we go, blah, blah, blah. So what I did earlier was I rendered out this frame. So if you go to composition and then save frame as Photoshop layer, you can then export that. And what I did was I put it into Photoshop like this. And then I got, let's turn this up, I cut out a chameleon's tongue, and then I just sort of made the composition. So I've got an idea of what it's going to look like. Okay, and now what we're going to do is import this Photoshop document into After Effects, but we're going to separate the layers and just have the tongue layer so we can start working on that and animate it. So I'm going to go to File, Import, File, where's it gone? Lizard tongue, Import. Oh, sorry, I've got the thing down here. It's asking me which layer I want. Well, I want the tongue layer. I click on OK. So now it is in my project window. So I'm going to drag that and I'm going to put it on top. And there we go. There's my tongue. So I can reposition it. Now what I want to do is to be able to animate it. I want to be able to kind of move it back so it flies out like that. So I'm going to mask part of my mouth and then duplicate that layer so I can go behind it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to move this up in the layers. Hang on, let's click that one. Oh, I need to unlock it first. And then put it over there. So now the tongue's behind it. And then I'm going to go in with the pen tool. If you hold down the middle mouse wheel, you can move it and zoom it out. There we go, zoom it in even. And I'm just going to start putting in a mask around here. And I just want the area that the tongue is going to be in. Ooh, I've gone a bit crazy there. Let's take it round like that, down, 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 and up, and join up. So let's invert that by going to masks on the layer and invert. So now I've got this kind of layer here. So I can then, where's my tongue gone? I can pick up the tongue and I can move it like that. It looks absolutely disgusting. But what I want to do now is duplicate the video. So Control D. So I've got two versions of the video. I'm going to put one underneath the tongue layer, and then I'm going to delete the mask. So now, oops, moving the wrong one. Yeah, very importantly, I'm going to click on lock those two layers. So I can only move the tongue now, like so. I'm just going to go in and adjust the mask on this layer. Just make sure it is nice, because I've got a bit of fringing there that I'm not happy with. Let's go into the mask and select these points. You can just click on them and move them about. There we go. Let's move that up a little bit like that. Perfect. So now we've got the mask set up, we have to do the animation. So let's get to the bit where I open my mouth and about there. Make sure I've got the tongue selected and click on the transform commands and put stopwatch on position. Oh, I've just double clicked on that by mistake. So it needs to start maybe like that. Yeah, I think it's gonna, I'm just gonna put another keyframe here. Let's have a, play that back to have a feel for it. I'm just gonna extend the work area. Let's like render the frames. And yeah, so it needs to come in, it needs to be out by then. So got the tongue, got the position, gonna pick it up. And there we go. Now obviously it's kind of not long enough. So what I'm gonna do is use something called puppetry. And the way you do that, you click on the puppet position pin tool here. So click on that. And I'm gonna click on here and add points. And what this allows you to do is kind of stretch and manipulate the image. So before we do anything, let's play that back. Yeah, let's check it out. Yeah, so we need to kind of fiddle around with it a little bit. It's not fast enough yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that right back to here. Yeah, that's better. Let's play that back. Yeah. I think we could do something with the velocity of that when we get it going. Anyway, so let's click on our mesh. So I want to take, this is the last position, so I want to take that back into here. That into there, that moves there, that moves there. I'm going to bring it down a bit so it's kind of like, it sort of splots. There we go, let's have a look at that. Yeah. Oh, I've just realized that there's still keyframes after. So what I need to do is, right, so we need to get rid of this. You can see here there's a little dot. That means I've got more keyframes. So click on the mesh, click on deform, and then open up all these. It's a bit of faff. There we go. I'm just going to get rid of these ones by clicking and dragging. Oh, gone a bit crazy here. And get rid of them all. And that's better. That should now. Yeah. So I'm just going to go through it. I'm going to go backwards through the frames. Just making sure that oh, it looks like my mask is not so great there, so let's go back up. Let's go to the mask on here and zoom in. Yeah, I've kind of moved a bit. I'm just going to take it forwards a bit more. Let's try that. Let's tweak it. You can actually animate the mask as well, the shape path, but I'm not going to do that. I just want to get it roughly in the right place. Right, zoom in again. So let's take it back to its final position. And click on the deform tool. Make sure that I'm on the final frame by clicking on, I think I already am. And you can just click on this arrow and it'll move you to the final frame. So I just want to move that up a little bit and move that a little bit and move that bit. Yeah, so it's got like more of a kind of a curve to it. That's it. And then I'm going to use the preview. I'm going to go back a frame. And I'm just going to wiggle that down. Back another frame. I'm going to wiggle that down. I'm going to start squishing it. And back a frame. Wiggle that down. Back a frame. So we're going to apply like motion blur to this as well to back a frame. Let's really squish it in now. Until it's gone. Let's play that forwards. And now we need to obviously do it going back in. So I'm just going to repeat the process, but kind of going in the opposite direction. So I've done the animation. Let's just stop it. There you go. So I've just done the same thing but the other way. I'm going to stick motion blur on it to make it a bit more realistic. Let's see what that adds to it. You see, there we go. And obviously you need to get rid of the fly. So let's just do that. So the point it makes contact, which is about there. Shape layer. I'm going to take it back a frame, set the opacity to 100%, move it on a frame, and set the opacity to nothing. Let's see what that does. We don't need to animate it because it's going to happen so quickly you won't notice it. I'm going to render this out. Let's just select the whole clip because the next part I'm going to do Let's going to do a bit of rotoscoping. So let's just get to the end bit. Yeah, that's where it ends. Let's check I've got it all. Fly comes in, tongue comes out, and then the next bit. So composition, add to render queue, and click on the output. And this is boy, and click on save and render. Before we move on to the next bit, I wasn't quite happy with the speed of it, so I'm going to create a new composition. Where are we going? Okay, and then import a file. I'm going to re-import it. Where's this boy gone? Oh, here it is. All right, so I've already got composition 2. Let's drag that in there. So I was a bit unhappy with the speed of it, so what I'm going to do is right click, go to time, and enable time remapping. I'm going to stick some keyframes in on the time remap. So as it comes out, click on the keyframe there, keyframe when it hits, keyframe as it comes back out. It's there. So you can see, yeah, the withdrawal's a lot longer. So I'm going to move that up like that and play that back. I think that's going to be better. Yeah, that feels better. Next, we're going to do some rotoscope. And what rotoscope does is basically helps you create a mask. Yeah, it's kind of tricky to explain, but so I'm going to duplicate this layer. So I've got 2 versions of it. And what I want to do is I want to make my face green. And the way you could do that is by, you know, going through it frame by frame and colorizing it, but we're going to use rotoscope. So let's move it on to about here. What I turn and look. So this portion here. Then I'm going to select the Roto-brush tool. I'm going to double click. And what I'm going to do, if you're familiar with Photoshop, and there's kind of the kind of edge refine tool, it's a very similar thing. So I want to basically select my head. So I'm going to click and start drawing in fairly roughly around my head and neck. And you can see it's started to select it, but it's got these other bits that I don't want. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key, so it says remove that part. So I'm just going to start bringing it in, and the computer will hopefully start adjusting. Let's see. And then I can extend. So if you can look closely in this bit here, so under the timeline, we've got on the preview window. So you've got the bit that it's going to render. So I'm going to click on that and I'm going to extend it all the way there. Let's take it back a bit. Yeah. And then you can see the blue bar is stretching out. It's like propagating it because it's doing its sort of magic. And hopefully it will follow the contours that I've selected. You can see it chugging away now. So if I play that back, no, it's still rendering. Right, it's just finished now, so we should be able to play that back. Let's preview it. Yeah, so you can see there's a tiny green line, and it's followed it. Yeah, that'll do for now. There's that little bit there. I might just go in there and use the minus and just Oh no, that's too much. Oh, that'll do. It's going to re-render all this now. Yeah, that'll do. Obviously, you can go in and you can tweak it more. Oh, sorry, I'm a bit of a perfectionist. There you go. Let's see what it does now. It's because the contrast on my ear is like pretty much the same. It's not got a great deal to work with. Anyway, that'll do for now. So now the computer's done that kind of work, we can select view. I'm going to select mask. Okay, so now it's kind of masked that bit. We're going to go back into our composition. I'm going to take off the bottom layer so you can see what it's done. Yeah, you can see that. So at this point, it's now just got a mask of my face. So what we can do now is apply effects to that, and it's not going to affect the overall layer. So I only want to do it from here. So I want to split this layer. And the way you do that is Shift Control D, and that'll split it because we don't want the rest of it. We just want that bit here. So let's get rid of that bit. Oh, I need to turn this background layer back on. There we go. So now I've got a sort of masked face. I can show you what it's doing there. It makes a bit more sense. Yeah, so we've rotoscoped this. We've masked that off as best we can. You can go in there and spend more time and get it perfect, because look at that bit there. It kind of goes weird. All right. And then we can start applying effects to that layer. So I'm going to apply, I'm going to make myself green. So I can go to effects and color correction and tritone. Let's get the right kind of color. So mid-tone is going to be a kind of green, sort of. Move it to the brown a little bit more green, a bit more green. Yeah, that's good. Oh, I didn't select it. Let's try again. Okay, and then in the whites, I'm going to make green too. Move it more into the yellow, a bit more into the white. Let's just adjust that a bit more. Yeah, that's looking good. And then I'm going to animate, blend with the original. So let's take it back to the beginning. Click on the stopwatch, set that to 100, and then fade it in. Let's see what that looks like. Next, I'm going to add a liquefy effect, because I want to give myself big bulging eyes and a kind of froggy mouth. So go to effects and go to distort and liquefy. Where's it gone? There we go. Now, if you're familiar with Photoshop, it's very similar. So you've got the kind of distortion tools there. So I'm going to select the bulge tool. Let's just do this side first. Let's put, let's find out where we are. So we're going green. Let's put a dot in there and a dot in this one. Let's move it on a bit. Yeah, to fully green. And then there you go. Let's do the same for this one. Yeah. Play that back. And then I'm going to use the push tool to kind of make my mouth go a bit peculiar. So let's put in a little blob there. Let's move it on. Let's move on some more. Let's see what that looks like now. It's brilliant, love it. Obviously it doesn't animate with it, so we're gonna have to kind of end it before I move, but there's plenty to work with there. Let's just see that. That'll do, I think. Alright, so let's render the whole sequence out. So composition, add to render queue. Let's make sure I save it in the right place, blah blah blah. Let's call it Froggy Boy. And click on render. So that's how you turn yourself into a Froggy Boy.